We are here today because we had got a friendly match between Gor Mahia and Rarieda combined. This is just part and parcel. This is part and parcel of the Kenya Kwanza government's efforts towards adapting a bottom-up approach to Kenyan football. When we bring Gor Mahia down here, we are basically showcasing to the local communities the talent that is resident in a team of the caliber of Gor Mahia at the national level. But in the same vein, we use this type of friendly matches to identify raw talent at the grassroots that can be nurtured to exploit their full potential. So this is two ways: to showcase the talent that we have at the national level, but also use the process to identify raw talent that can be nurtured, so that we use sports at the very grassroots as a source of livelihood for our youth. But we also, in the same vein, as we look for sponsorship, we also want to appeal to our clubs to adapt a business model towards and also good corporate governance in football. Yes. Football is not going to attract sponsorship if we have got bad governance and corruption in football, or any other sport for that matter. So we must adapt a business model so that we come up with sustainable ways of running these clubs.
Exactly. No, Kenyan football is not in very good shape. In fact, Kenyan football is in very bad shape. And we know that we have just come out of the FIFA suspension. Our Harambee Stars team has not been competitive at all. Our clubs are no longer competitive, even at the East African level. We used to dominate the East African Championship, for instance, completely. You'd find Gor Mahia, Leopards exchanging the cup over the years, especially in the 80s. Those days are long behind us now. But for us to return those glory days and go even further, we have to go back to the basics. And the basics, as determined by government, the Kenya Kwanza government, is to develop grassroots football. And so we are going to do academies across the country. A place like Nyilima here is a place where we can actually situate an academy to develop talent locally. We also want to encourage this kind of interaction between Premier League teams, teams coming from other parts of the country with local teams. It inspires local players. It provides a window for scouting. And so we are very serious about this thing, that even the president himself, President William Ruto himself, has agreed to be the champion of the bottom-up model of redeveloping our football. And as a ministry, we are good to go, and in January we will be launching the program. First of all, we must realize that football is an economy. Sports is an economy, big economy. You go to major economies like the US, Germany. Sports is huge in terms of what it drives economically. And so we must monetize football. We must monetize talent. And we must get sponsors back into football. And we are definitely engaging. I met 22 sponsors, 22 corporate sponsors for breakfast 2 weeks ago. The big ones: Safaricom, Coca-Cola, Betika, Supersport, Multichoice. I met them 2 weeks ago, and we have agreed to increase the portfolio of the money they put in football. I have also struck a deal with the Multichoice that will see Supersport coming back to start televising football, because that is one way of marketing our talents. And I expect at the conclusion of this season, we should be ready to roll the live broadcasts. Yeah, asanteni sana.
For the very simple reason that this match is the ignition key, the ignition for the takeoff of our grassroots football development. This is the ignition. Juzi kwenye sherehe za Jamhuri Day kule Nairobi, mlisikia Rais William Ruto akitangaza ya kwamba tunataka kuanzisha mpira mashinani, bottom up football, kujenga mpira wetu from the bottom going up. Because the truth is that our football is in such bad state, we have to go back to the basics. We have to go back to the basics. Mutakumbuka, for instance, those of you who follow football very closely, in the build-up to the 2014 World Cup, which was won by Germany, a very young Germany team of virtual unknowns. Uliona first 11 in Germany, and you are wondering, who are these people? Because in the previous World Cup, Germany had done very poorly, and they decided to go back to the basics. And they built a team from the grassroots. They applied this model of bottom up, and that is what we are going to apply to Kenyan football. And bottom up is this Nyilim ground. This is bottom up. This is Nyilima ground. This is what bottom up is. And so I want to assure you, ya kwamba we will make this pitch playable. Because we cannot talk about developing talent at the grassroots playing on this pitch. No, we can't. If we are going to develop talent at the grassroots, we must have some basic, minimum, standard quality of pitches and facilities. And so, tutatafuta pesa, tutengeze hii ground. Tutatafuta pesa, tutengeze Siaya Stadium. So that if we are talking about hosting major tournaments, and if we hosted a major tournament, then definitely Kisumu City will be a host to matches of such a tournament. We want teams to come and camp in Siaya to train for that major tournament. And where will they camp and train if we don't have pitches where they can train? And so, I assure you that we have a good plan. Na huo mpango nimeuwasilisha kwenye baraza la mawaziri. And this journey includes supporting our community clubs. You know, when you go to football crazy countries like Spain, clubs like Barcelona are actually community clubs. They're clubs built on the culture of the community. Barcelona in the Catalonia region is the Gor Mahia of Kenya in terms of community support. And so we can't run away from this. I'm not ashamed to say this. But for us to put our football back and even higher, we must support our community clubs. And talking of community clubs, you don't talk any bigger than Gor Mahia, Kogalo, and FC Leopards Ingwe. You can't talk bigger than that. And part of the plan we have is that we must increase money that flows into these clubs. Hata nimeambia my friend Captain Karauri, nimemwambia what you're giving Gor Mahia, highways make, I mean, you know what you're giving Gor Mahia. And I told him, you're sponsoring the only club in Africa south of the Sahara, north of the Limpopo, to win the Mandela Cup, to win the Africa Cup Winners' Cup. And so your size of sponsorship must be commensurate and equivalent to the standard of what brand Gor Mahia is. Nimeambia Karauri hivyo.
The purpose of bringing Gor Mahia down, one, is to bring football down to the grassroots. We want, as my colleague Ababu will tell you, to develop soccer from going up, because there's a lot of talent here. And I was having a chat with Bwana, and I was telling him that having watched this match today, I would be surprised if Gor Mahia fails to identify some talent from here. So it's a parcel of developing talent from the grassroots. These friendly matches are good, but they are not the ultimate solution. The ultimate solution is making sure that we have got youth development centers so that we nurture talent from the very bottom in a sustainable manner. If this team of Rarieda is kept together, it can really become a natural ground for prominent teams like Gor Mahia or AFC Leopards. Without running the risk of repeating what Honorable Achira said, I must thank Ababu. Within a very short time, he has brought back normalcy to Kenyan football. His colleagues in the cabinet who are soccer fans, so that Kenyan football can get back to where it was. I've been holding consultations with Ababu, and we have agreed on one thing, that the
only way to bring Kenyan soccer back to us is to make sure that Gor Mahia is back to its feet, AFC Leopards is back to its feet. We want to see the AFC Leopards that used to win the league 3 times in a... We want to see the Gor Mahia, which won the Africa Cup of Nations in 1987. In the local league, we want to see Gor Mahia as number 1 and number 2. Or vice versa.
I want to sincerely thank the Minister or the Cabinet Secretary for ICT for this great initiative. And I'll be very brief. We've never played on this ground at all. We played once in Bondo, but this is an interesting event which should be repeated and emulated in other areas of Kenya, talking about grassroots football. Thank you, Waziri, do it again. 2, I want to thank, and I was sharing this with the Cabinet Secretary for ICT, that one of the best performing ministries is that of sports. So much has happened. My young learned friend, Ababu has done great things. Within less than a month, he's removed the FIFA ban. He has restored the league, and I don't want to mention them. So this is great. We are very, very encouraged. My own request is that all over the world, in all the benchmarks of running their leagues in the world, it is professionalized. It is not run by federations. We had the KPL. Please look into it, how the management of the Kenyan Premier League can be returned to the KPL. That is all I want to say, and thank you for coming.
The players are being introduced. Good. Good. That is Norbert Owino. Asante. Tunaomba Nyawiri huyo. Asante. That is introduction. Asante.
Alpha Onyango. Alpha, wish you a good game. Boniface Omondi. Boniface, wish you a good game. Alphonse Omija. Okay, Alphonse, wish you a good game. George Odiamo. Blackberry, wish you a good game.
Sijui kuna nini? Ni kama amepewa chake. Haya. Haya. Mwafe ameutoa. Ameudaka. Haya. Ameweka chini. Wameanza. Wakati wote waziri wa mchezo Mheshimiwa Babu na Gamba akafika katika uga huu wa Nyilima. Kumbuka bado ni kipindi cha kwanza. Bado ni sufuri. Yule ni Ng'ang'a. Haya. Kwake Kan Matthew. Haya. Wanaona bila kumekuja katika lango la Rida Combine. Mchezo kwake Jesse Mokala kutoka matatu pale anajulikana kama Nana. Anacheza na kala kidogo wapi pale. Na kutoka pale kijana wa Mose. Anachukua kwake kijana alikuwa Rida Combine. Anacheza kidogo. Anacheza kwenda wapi? Kutoka katika Junior kama Nyawira. Anarusha pale vile ndio kutoka kati tokea.
Ingia.
No mapa.
Nje, mpira umetoka, ukawa ni mpira kurushwa, telekezo lango la Raria Combine kwake nani? Bonfas Omondi amepokonywa. Nini? Haya, mpira umetoka. Tunaambiwa ya kwamba mwenzangu, kumbuka haya mashindano yameweza kudhaminiwa kabisa, kushirikiana kwa ukaribu na yule mwenyekiti wa Gor Mahia Mheshimiwa Multichoice. Tunaye hapa touch after touch. Haya ni kama Raria Combine wanataka kufanya mabadiliko, namuona wall Matiku. Haya bado nini, kipenga kimepulizwa. Haya Owino, rudisha kwa keje namba 37, aliona kama maji. Cheza kwa keje namba 2, anaonekana kama uchini tena. Tafuta mala kujampia. Tumtume anatoa. Weka kwenye kichwa pale wapi wa Owino, kuna communication. Kwa ke Vota. Cheza kwa ke Ali cheza kwa ke Mose. Kwa ke tena Walter pale vile. Kwa mpira pale vile. Ali.
Kama luko para ba.
Alfa amejaribu jini wapi, mpira umeweza kutoka nje na wafurushwa kuelekea
Kapingi so fans. Wamena doka mato fans. Qatar mano.
Na mpira kurushwa kuelekea katika lango la Raria Combine. Anaenda kurusha mpira ule ni Nyawira. Anaangalia cheza nani? Cheza kwa Blackberry pale vile. Anaingia Blackberry. Pia amekata kijana Mose kwake pale vile, jezi namba 18. Anajulikana kama Owino. Rudisha kwake Gad Matthews. Akanyaga mpira, angalia cheza nani? Anacheza kwake Dennis